like it was kind of a from birth type thing, I would say. I was born in Houston, Texas originally. My mother's from Chicago though. She went to a trade school in Dallas for like textile and merchandise. And that's where she met my father. My father was at the same school for culinary arts. He wanted to be a chef. So they kind of met there, and then once they finished school, then they were together. So they just came back to his hometown, which was Houston. Chic. Vintage. Polished. Forward. And all-encompassing. I would say those are pretty, I'd say that runs the spectrum of my style. Yeah, so sock ministry, so it's kind of crazy how I came about, right? So, ever since I hit the music scene here in Chicago, because like I said, I'm from north of Chicago. Actually, the town is North Chicago. So I really started mingling with a lot of people here. Well, from college, I went to NIU, met a lot of people. And then when I hit the music scene here, it's kind of when I really got engulfed in like the fashion scene here as well. I just started meeting a lot of people as far on the streetwear side first, like my guys, shout out my guys over at Leaders, Success and All Flat, Dame Jeff and the homie. So I always was a guy that was just into socks. I just always like funky socks. I've never been like a tube sock, crew sock type of person. It's funny enough, I'm in a group called Ivy League, and the last we have a project called Orientation. Go there on iTunes if you like. And there's a skit on Orientation called No White Socks. And we were all in the studio together, just me and a couple of, the cast like Jay Ella, Prolific, Tony Baines, Vi, just a bunch of the homies. We were in the studio, and they were talking about white socks. They were talking about wearing white socks. Tube socks, crew socks, whatever, athletic socks. The thing was white socks. And I'm like, I don't wear them. I'm like, they like, how do you not wear white socks? I'm like, I haven't worn white socks literally since high school, maybe like freshman year of high school. I'm like, I don't wear them. They're like, how do you, what about when the occasion calls for white socks? I'm like, there's never an occasion for me to call for white socks. You know what I mean? So that was kind of like the seed. So from that moment on, people were always like recognizing, like paying attention to my socks, because they were really trying to see if I was lying and slipping up and wearing white socks, right? But I just don't. So then it just kind of grew from there, and then people just started kind of taking notice to my socks all the time. Like, oh man, like, where you get those, or what made you wear those, or you know what I mean, like where did that come from, right? And then also shout out to my guy Ty. I know a lot of y'all know Ty. Ty's my man that also like a big sock connoisseur guy. So it was kind of always like the running joke, like you and Ty with these socks, you know what I'm saying? So that's been going on for forever. Fast forward to a couple of months ago, I was in Houston, I was visiting. My aunt is married to the pastor of the church that we attended. We've always attended since I was a kid. Went out to dinner, and I had on some socks that he was digging. He was like, man, dude, I always see you with these socks. He was like, I'm making you head of the sock ministry. Explosion. I'm like, that's it. Sock ministry. And I had already been, me and Ty had, already, kind of been comparing notes, chopping it up back and forth about doing a sock thing, because it was a time he had did like some little accessories like kerchiefs and a couple of little bow ties, like, and it was just kind of cool. It was kind of a cool little one-off thing to do, you know what I mean? So I've been talking to him about doing a sock thing, and it just, and once he said that, it just lit the pilot, you know what I mean? I was like, man, it's something I should do. Like, so that's kind of where the real notion came from. I had always been into socks, but what I'd always been doing, and when he just said that title, it just kind of stuck with me. And I was just like, man, I think that'll be good. I think it's a fun play on words, you know what I mean? And really, that's a good market to grab, you know what I mean? Also, when you start talking about like socks, obviously people would care. People would be suited a lot, you know what I mean? So that's just kind of what it was. So I gotta salute my pastor for that, you know what I mean? Because shout out to Lacey, because he kind of put that notion of that name, and it was just like the icing on the cake. Once he gave me that name, I was like, I need to pursue this. This is something I need to do.